All right, let's just get right into it. We've all been feeling it, haven't we? These summers just seem to get hotter and hotter every single year. So for this explainer, we're going to look at let's call it a chilly solution. What if we could just flip a switch and cool everything down, like way down?
And no, it is not just in your head. The data backs this up big time. Both 2023 and 2024 have smashed records as the hottest summers we've ever recorded. It's happening everywhere, and honestly, who isn't getting a little sick of it?
So what's the number behind all this heat? Well, on average, the entire globe is already warmed up by 1.5 degrees Celsius from where we were before the industrial age. Now that might not sound like a lot, but we are absolutely feeling the effects. It kind of makes you wish for a nice long cold spell, doesn't it? Well, be careful what you wish for.
So let's really lean into that idea. Forget about some slow, gradual cool down happening over thousands of years. No. What if, like, right now, bam, we just plunged our entire modern world into a full-blown ice age? Let's see how that plays out.
Okay, so before we hit that hypothetical freeze button, we kind of need to know how it works in the first place. What actually triggers an ice age? The science behind it is pretty incredible, and it has everything to do with these massive cosmic clocks and planetary rhythms.
All right, first things first, a little bit of terminology because it's actually super important. What you and I would call an ice age, well, geologists call that a glacial period. Think of it this way. There's this huge, long ice age era, and the glacial periods are the really intense, super cold parts inside that era.
And get this is the crazy part. We are technically in an ice age era right now. We're just in one of the warmer, cozier phases in between the big freezes. And if humans weren't a factor, Earth's natural rhythm wouldn't push us into the next deep freeze for, wait for it, another 50,000 years.
So what's the deal with these super long cycles? What's the engine driving this whole thing? Well, the answer isn't here on Earth. It's way out there, in space. It's all about the slow, grand way our planet dances through the solar system.
They're called the Milankovitch cycles, and it's basically a mix of 3 different planetary movements all happening at once. First, the shape of our orbit around the sun stretches and shrinks on a 100,000-year cycle. Then, Earth's tilt rocks back and forth over 41,000 years. And finally, our planet has this little wobble, kind of like a spinning top, that takes 26,000 years. It's the combination of all 3 of these that changes how much sun we get, and that's what pushes us in and out of glacial periods.
All right, science class is dismissed. Let's get back to the fun part. We're hitting the big red button. We're starting the ice age. Now! What happens to the planet itself?
Instantly, the average temperature around the globe drops by a full 5 degrees Celsius. Boom, just like that. That doesn't just cancel out all the recent warming, it pushes us way past that, into a world colder than anything humans have seen in over 20,000 years. But here's the thing, this cold snap isn't going to be the same everywhere, not even close. If you're in the tropics, say Hawaii, you might barely even notice. But the further you get from the equator, whoa. Japan might see temperatures drop by 4 to 8 degrees. And just look at northeastern North America, we're talking a mind-blowing drop of 20 degrees Celsius, or even more.
When it gets that cold, the ice starts to build up, and it just keeps on coming. In places like northern Canada and Scandinavia, which would be ground zero for this new ice age, the ice sheets would eventually grow to be 2,000 meters thick. To put that in perspective, that's like stacking more than 4 Empire State Buildings on top of each other. Just ice.
The scale here is it's hard to even wrap your head around it. Imagine ice sheets a kilometer thick, just grinding over cities like New York and London. They wouldn't just be covered, they'd be gone, completely crushed under the weight. So you might be wondering, where's all the water for this ice coming from? It has to come from somewhere, right? Well, it gets sucked right out of the oceans. And as these giant glaciers grow, sea levels across the globe would drop by a staggering 100 meters. The world map as we know it would become totally obsolete. Think about what that means. A 100-meter drop in sea level changes everything. The UK, not an island anymore. You could literally walk to France. The Bering Strait between Russia and America, gone. It's a land bridge now. Japan would actually connect to mainland Asia, and the Sea of Japan? Well, it would just be a giant lake.
So, the planet itself is totally transformed. But what about humanity? What about the 8 billion of us living here? A world like this would kick off the biggest crisis we've ever faced, period.
The very first thing that would happen is a refugee crisis on a scale that is impossible to imagine. We're talking hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of people forced to flee the ice. Everyone would be pushing south, trying to get to the few places on Earth that are still livable. The pressure on those areas would be unbelievable. But wait a second. You might be thinking, with the ocean so much lower, wouldn't there be tons of new land? Why can't we just move there? It's a good question. But yeah, it's not that simple. Here's the problem. Our entire global system, our whole economy is built for the coastlines we have right now. A sudden change like this, we're talking total economic collapse. All the northern ports would be frozen solid. But even worse, all those huge bustling port cities around the world, they'd suddenly be completely landlocked. Our whole global shipping network would just stop.
Let's take just one example, Shanghai. It's one of the busiest ports in the entire world. In this scenario, it wouldn't just be a little far from the water, it would be hundreds of kilometers inland. All that infrastructure, everything that keeps our world running, would be basically worthless. Overnight. Okay, so this has been a pretty wild ride, right? A crazy thought experiment. But there's a point to all this, because the chaos we've just imagined in our deep freeze scenario, it's actually a pretty powerful and kind of scary reflection of what's happening right now.
Just look at the parallels here. It doesn't matter if you rapidly cool the planet or rapidly warm it up. The results are shockingly similar. You get mass migrations, you get coastlines that are completely redrawn, you get global supply chains that completely fall apart. The real villain in this story isn't the ice and it isn't the heat, it's the speed of the change. It's what happens when you push the climate too hard, too fast.
And that's really what this all comes down to. This whole thing was a hypothetical, sure, but the rapid warming we're facing isn't. And it leaves you with a really big question. Can we, as a species, actually get it together to stop the runaway warming we've already started? Now that is something to really think about.